teachers, and all my dear brothers and sisters, a hearty Sairam. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools that has been gifted to us in order to overcome all the obstacles that may arise on this path of self-realization. The Bhagavad Gita serves as a perfect platform in order to train the mind. In the Gita, Lord Krishna gives a very methodical approach that one must follow in order to train the mind. Over the past few days, in the Dhyana Yoga, we have learned how to focus the mind. In the Gnana Vijnana Yoga, we learned what to focus the mind on. And today, in the Akshara Brahma Yoga, we have learned why we must focus the mind. Among the various concepts of Sanatana Dharma, the concept of rebirth is very fundamental to its philosophy. The thoughts that individuals have at the time of death play a crucial role in deciding how they are born in their next lives. Suppose we strike our foot against a wall. Some of us may shout out in pain. Some may become angry at ourselves for our own carelessness, and some may even get angry at the wall. So the question arises, can we consciously replace these thoughts with the thoughts of God? Definitely. Sadguru stresses that it is only when the mind is constantly focused on God throughout the day will it be completely purified from all impurities. Only such a mind trained in this manner will be able to think of God even at the time of death. Now, we shall chant the important shlokas of the 8th chapter titled the Akshara Brahma Yoga.
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षरब्रह्मयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तमा अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गः कर्मसंज्ञितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वरा अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन्मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः। यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तन्तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः। तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः मामे वैष्यस्य संशयः। अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्। कविं पुराणमनुशासितारं अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्न्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्मा व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः आब्रह्मभुवनाल्लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते
From 15 different countries. We have received awards in the following 3 categories. Under India's greatest brands in the industry of education, Sri Madhusudan Sai Institute of Medical Sciences and Research in the category of Medical College. The Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence in the category of the universities. And in the category of India's greatest leaders, our dearest Sadguru, Sri Madhusudan Sai. Now, on behalf of everyone, I pray to Sadguru to bless us all with his divine message.
Akshara Brahma Yoga is not a very popular chapter amidst the readers, but it is my favorite chapter because it talks about the ultimate nature of Brahman, which is the ultimate truth, cutting all other unnecessary descriptions and details, and it tells us very clearly, do what you want in your whole life, but at the end, if you fail to remember who you are truly, and if you fail to recognize your divinity at that moment, everything is going to go down the drain. And that is the idea of why we must remember this truth of divinity at all times, because nobody knows when Lord Yama is going to give us darshan, because he doesn't come at our calling, nor he goes by our sending him away. He comes and goes as per his wish. And that is the idea of Akshara Brahma Yoga, where Sri Krishna very lovingly explains. Those alone who can remember me even at the last moment, by controlling their senses, focusing their mind, holding their prana in their head region and focusing on the truth or divinity that lies in the hridi or this core of their being, such a person, when leaves the body in certain way, at certain points of time, like the daytime, the Shukla Paksha, and when other things are happening, the Surya, the path of sun or the path of brightness, he says, then they definitely reach the higher lokas. But even then, amongst them who remembers their true divinity, that I am divine and none other than that, such a person reaches me who remembers me. So when Krishna says who remembers me, does not mean remembering the Lord Krishna as the physical, that form or the name, but that is only a representation of the ultimate truth, which is what we have already learnt yesterday as well. So this chapter becomes extremely important because everything else in our lives may not be the same for all of us, like where we were born, what we studied, what kind of work we take up in life, what kind of relations we have, which place we live in, how we retire, and what we do after retirement. All these can be different for different people. But that moment, the moment of truth, when we leave this body, happens to everyone. How it happens may be different, but it happens for sure. And that is one thing we share in common. Because we are kshara, the body is kshara, which means it will get destroyed at some point in time. We are born, aste, jayate, vardate, viprinamate, apakshiyate, and mriyate. We are born, we are there, we are born, we grow, then reversal happens, then you start declining, diminishing, and finally we die. See, these are the Shatvikaras of this body. And everybody goes through it in different ways. But finally, Mriyate is written for us, Jayate is written for us. So Jayate we have all shared. Now Mriyate also we are going to share at some point in time. This is a truth which we cannot run away from. Therefore, nobody wants to read this chapter because who wants to talk about dying? If anybody discusses death, it's considered as inauspicious. Let us discuss about health, wealth, prosperity, long life, and things like that. But Sri Krishna is boldly discussing death right here. And Arjuna must be aware of it. He's a Kshatriya. He can die any moment. He kills and he can also die. So in this game of life and death, how should we play this game is what Krishna is trying to teach us. And we all know in Bhagavatam the story of Parikshita comes. And this Parikshita was cursed that in 7 days' time he is going to be bitten by the snake Vasuki and he is going to die. So at that point of time, he doesn't think, how can I double my business in 7 days? How can I have a little more fun, go around the world, make a bucket list, and make the best of these 7 days? He doesn't think like this. If you go and watch some movies nowadays, or even the Western movies in the past, they will, the way they want to end their life is if you come to know that you have some cancer or something, and you're going to die soon, the first thing they do is draw a bucket list. I have to see Himalaya, I have to go to Atlantic Ocean, and I have to go on a tour of the world. I have to see the places which I have never been to. I have to eat foods that I have never eaten, and all kinds of things. So they make a bucket list. But Parikshita did not make a bucket list like this. He was very intelligent. And what did he do? He went and fell at the feet of the rishi. He looked for jnana, looked for wisdom. And then he heard it all. He heard about Sri Krishna's life all through the 7 days and nights. Did not sleep, did not rest, kept on listening. And because of that, at the end, when the 7th day, when the death happens for him, it's not that he avoided the problem. Death happens to him. Despite whatever security his people provide, finally he gets bitten by the snake and dies. But when he dies, the only thoughts that he carries in his head is that of Lord Krishna, is that of devotion to Krishna. And that of his superior nature of Akshara Parabrahma. With that thought, when he passes away, he attains the feet of the Lord. That is how it is described in Bhagavatam. So, Parikshita was very lucky, I would say, because he knew the time and date of death. But we don't know, do we? None of us know. Mahakuru dhanajana yavana garvam haritini mishad kalat sarvam. In a moment, all this can be lost. All that we have built up, amassed, accumulated, studied, educated ourselves to become, everything can disappear in a trice. Nobody knows. Many times life gives us such shocks, especially in COVID times, This chapter was very seriously studied during COVID times because nobody knew what's coming next. So everybody was very careful to read Akshara Brahma Yoga when we were studying in COVID times. So the idea of death is it's not an inauspicious thing. As I said, it's only an event in our lives. And in this chapter, we read that we are born again and again. 100 years of Brahma is one huge, every Brahma gets to run this show. And then after 100 years of Brahma, which consists of a day and night, and each day and night is 1,000 Mahayugas. And each Mahayuga has 4 yugas. So you can name it. And that's how our calculations are. Don't go by the actual mathematics of behind it. It is a way to tell us that long this cycle of birth and death goes on if we don't find redemption and get out of it. We'll be born again, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. We cannot avoid this because our karma and karma prabhavas will keep bringing us again. If we have done good, we might be born in good families, we might enjoy the life better. But if we have not been able to do good, then we might be pushed into wombs that are not sacred. And that way we will not be able to lead a pure spiritual life next time. And the story of Jada Bharata from Bhagavatam is the classic example. And we must all read that story. Because Bharata, this country is named after that King Bharata. And what did he do? When he retired, as per the retirement norms in the Shastras, Vanaprastha and then Sannyasa Ashrama, he went and lived by this river Gandaki, somewhere near Himalayas, Haridwar. But though he had given up the whole country, administration, his wives and children behind, he left and came. Yet because of this kingly instincts to protect the creatures, he tried to protect a little fawn, a baby deer, which had taken birth during an accident. You all know that story. And while he was dying, his dying thoughts were that of a deer. It was not of God. And finally, then he was born as a deer. Because it was aware of its previous lives, it came to the ashram of Kanvarishi, stayed there, studied scriptures. It means he heard the scriptures. And because of that, it was born again as Jada Bharata. And when he was born as Jada Bharata, he remembered his past, that he had made a mistake of not living a proper life. In fact, he lived well, but he died not correctly. So I say living correctly is only one part of the exercise. Dying correctly is more important than living correctly. But if you live correctly, your dying correctly will happen. So our Jada Bharata missed that point. But this time when he was born, he was very careful. And now in this birth, he behaved like a fool. Jada means like a fool, because he didn't want to get entangled in the worldly things. So on purpose, he behaved like a fool so that nobody entices him or nobody entangles him in the worldly affairs. And that's how he kept himself away from all the worldly ties and finally attained wisdom. Either he was already wise, he attained moksha from the cycles of birth and death. So that is the story in our own scriptures, and we all must read that story from Bhagavatam. Nevertheless, the point that we are trying to make here is that if we do not practice remembering who we are and realizing who we are all through our lives, there is a very good chance that we will miss it while we are leaving this body. And we do not know when we are leaving the body. It's a surprise test. No, there's no schedule for this test, that your exams will happen on a certain day. You never know. It's just that you woke up and you realize today is the last day. And then you realize, I have 100 things to do. But you cannot do any of these things. So Parikshita's path of remembering, and that's why Sri Krishna gives a very simple formula, which I tell our students also. When you know that exams are going to happen someday or the other, why don't you study every day a little bit? Why do you pile up everything towards the end of your year and then struggle? When you know that death is going to happen, we cannot avoid that. When it will happen, it's all that we do not know. Today I was reading a newspaper, 12-year-old boy had a heart attack and he died in MP. Now, anything can happen any moment. Who knew when he started for the school? So you cannot know what time, where, how this moment will happen to us. Therefore, we have to be always prepared and always ready. And Krishna says, the one formula I'll give you, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu maam anusmaradhya yudhyacha. So all the time, in all places, keep thinking of me and do your duty. Yudhyacha means, because Kshatriya, Arjuna is a Kshatriya, he needs to fight the war. So he has to fight the war thinking of Krishna. And he says, Mayyarpita mano buddhi mamai vaishyasya samshayaha. The one who has offered his mind and intelligence to me. It means there is no other thought in that person's being other than Sri Krishna or other than that Paramatma. Such a person who is living all his life like this, let death come anytime, how does it matter? Because let exam happen anytime. I have always prepared. I am always up to date with my subjects. I have always studied every day. I am ready. Let the exam happen anytime. That confidence one will have who has been living a life of complete surrender and dedication to the Lord. Such a person will never have to face any consequences because all life is a surrendered life. Everything goes to Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. There is nothing of mine in this. Everything is yours, O Lord. The one who is living like this every day, for him death is a cakewalk. And even in death, that person will live joyfully. They say when you come in the world, it's you who cries and everybody laughs. But when you go from this world, it's you who should laugh and everybody should cry. It should not be other way, that you cry and leave and everybody laughs. Abba, good riddance finally. That should not be the way you exit. Everybody should cry. Such a wonderful man, such a wonderful person. I'm going to miss that person. That should be the way of leaving the world. So that is possible if Mayarpita Mano Buddhi. All the time our mind, our buddhi, intelligence means every atom, every cell of our being is completely absorbed in the thought of Sri Krishna, completely absorbed in the idea of divinity. Such a person has no fear. The biggest fear we have in life is Mrityu Bhayam. And that Mrityu Bhaya disappears. Such a person has no fear for anything. If once you have no fear of death, where is the fear of other things? You will become totally fearless. And that is the idea of knowing God and being God all the time. Shri Krishna is telling us through this chapter, don't worry about how many cycles of Brahma happen, how many yugas happen, which yuga you are in, all that is immaterial. Most important thing is that what are you doing with yourself today? Are you living your life in accordance to or with the divine will? Are you completely in tune with divinity within and without? If yes, you are always ready, you are ever ready. This confidence comes to us when we are ever ready. Like I believe there is a story that Swami Vivekananda was there and he went to write his exams. He was very smart. Narendranath his name was. He was quite intelligent. It seems he had a very, very sharp memory, like our Narsimurtiji's memory. He will remember everything. Which student got how many marks in which semester. All the database is here. Elephantine memory, as they say. So Vivekananda was very sharp, because very, very focused, dhyana yoga, completely focused he was. So when he went for exam, they gave him question paper. In the question paper, they also give you some choice questions, right? That if you don't know this question, you write another question. They said attempt any 5 of the 7 questions like that. He attempted all the 7 questions, wrote the answer, and at the bottom of the answer sheet wrote, correct any 5 of the 7 questions. His confidence. He knows his subject. We will be searching how to fool the examiner because, A and B are there. I know A of this, I know B of this, but the next one neither I know A nor I know B. So we try to rewrite questions and try to fool the examiner. But Vivekananda said, I'm writing all the 7. You choose which 5 you want to correct and give me marks. This confidence comes to a bhakta only. It doesn't come to anybody. A bhakta who is purna jnani. That person is always confident. Let any time death come, oh Lord, show up any time, any moment. Oh Lord Yama, I am not scared of you, I am not worried about you. Because I am ever ready, I am ever ready. So this ever readiness happens to somebody who is constantly meditating upon the true knowledge of who Krishna is, which is Akshara Brahma is. But he only is Adibhautika, Adidaivika, Adiyagnya, Karma, everything is him. But only the person who sees that one divinity in all things, at all places, in all situations, such a person is ever ready to leave the body in the right way. And when such a person leaves the body, there is no return. Yad gatva na nivartante tadhamam paramam mama. Yad prapya na nivartante. After attaining that, after going there is no return. For all other lokas, 14 lokas are there. When Sri Krishna says, the one who lives in a good way during the day, during the Shukla Paksha, during all that stuff, he can go to Brahma Loka at best. That is the highest heaven. There are categories of heaven, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 5 star, 7 star heaven is there. That is Brahma Loka. You enjoy your life. No hunger, no thirst, no worries whatsoever. You are making, merry over there. Truly peaceful, yeah. But once all your good karmas get over, you can come back to the Martya Loka, that is earth, which is in between. And if you do bad things, you'll go to the lower lokas too. So it's like this promotion or demotion. But you are not graduated fully. If you want to fully graduate from this class, from this earth, then you have to realize who you are as Brahman, and then you are out of this chakra of life and death. And that is the idea of Akshara Brahma Yoga, which is the most important thing to, at the end, why all this Bhagavad Gita after all? Why should we study Bhagavad Gita? Why should we do what Bhagavad Gita is telling us to do? What is the purpose? Yes, we have to please the Lord Sri Krishna. We have to serve the society, Sarvaloka Hiterataha. We have to do everything without any expectations in it. We have to focus our mind and do everything perfectly. All that is fine, but at the end, what? We have to overcome this cycle of birth and death. That is the ultimate reason why we are studying Bhagavad Gita or doing whatever Bhagavad Gita is telling us to do. So this is the chapter when Sri Krishna openly and boldly discusses death, discusses what happens after that, and how you can avoid the bad way of dying or bad consequences and die correctly. I said, where we were born, how we were born, to whom we were born, it was not a choice. It came from our prarabdhas. We could not do anything about it. These parents we did not choose. Where we will be born, we could not choose. What time we will be born, we could not choose. It all came from our past lives' karmas. But how we die, that we can choose. I always say, you are born a man, but you can die a god. That's possible for only humans. Just the other day, somebody wrote to me a question, saying, why is that plants, trees, and birds and mountains, rivers, they're all pure manifestation of divinity. They don't have any ill feelings for anyone. They don't have any karma prabhava. Then why human beings had to be created, who are always the problem creators, Human beings are the biggest problem. But they are called the best of all the people, Highest life form that is available or possible is, first jewel of creation is human. Then why is that human beings are created when everything else is so pure? Only human beings become impure. That is because only human beings are capable of dying a god. Only human beings are capable of knowing their divinity. Animals cannot know their divinity, and trees and mountains cannot know their divinity. They are divine, but they cannot realize it. So if somebody who is born a human and not realized his divinity, worse than trees and birds and animals and beasts, right? Because you had the capacity to realize, yet you did not put any efforts. And that is why in Bhagavatam it's called, such people are called Narapashus. Narapashu, though they're born humans, but they're like animals only. Because they're only interested in the lower things. Naradamas, they're not interested in the higher things to realize divinity. So this is the only way out of this whole cycle of birth and death. If you do not want to end up in the same hostel and deal with the same warden next birth, please realize your divinity and get out of this cycle of birth and death. If you do not want the same wife again coming and haunting you in the next life, the only option is, similarly applies to the husbands too. The only option is realize your divinity and get out of this cycle of birth and death. So the idea is the world is beautiful, it is the manifestation of divinity, nothing against it, nothing negative about it. But at the same time, it's dukkhalayam ashashvatam, Shri Krishna says. It is full of misery, it is impermanent. Even joy is impermanent, so also sorrow. So why run behind this impermanence? Try to attain that, yad gatva na nivartante. From where we don't have to return, means we don't have to come back to cycles of sorrow and joys. We don't have to come back to the cycles of failures and successes, cycles of excitements and depressions. We remain steady. That can happen even before leaving the body. It's called as Jivan Mukti. Videha Mukti is when you leave the body and you realize this state. Videha Mukti is good. But as I say, what use is Videha Mukti? Because you die and finally you realize it. If you can realize this truth while you are alive, you can do so much good to everybody. Your presence itself can create great inspiration for people around you. That we can also live like him, why not? See how peaceful, how equanimous in all situations such a person is. That becomes inspiration for many, many more people. So try to be Jivan Mukta. Of course, if you are Jivan Mukta, you are free while you are alive. You are naturally free even after your death. So there is no reason for you to worry what will happen at that point in time. So this is the topic of Akshara Brahma Yoga. And the only solution is all the time, Sada Sarvatra Sarvakaleshu Sarvada Hari Chintanam, that all the time you think about that divinity in all situations, in all places, in all ways. That is the only way. That is what Krishna also suggests, that one shloka, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mahamanusmara Yudhyacha. Remember me at all times and go about doing your duties. Mayyarpita mano buddhihi mamaivaishyasya samshayaha. The one who is dedicated his mind and buddhi to Krishna, to the Lord, to that supreme principle of divinity, the Akshara Brahma, such a person will reach Akshara Brahma, such a person will reach divinity. That is the essence of Akshara Brahma Yoga. So try to do that. Daily think of the divinity and do everything for the sake of that divine. Naturally, when you become Jivan Mukta, as you keep going about doing your duties, Death is not a problem, that's just an event. And after that, you don't have to worry about next births and next lives and which loka and which no loka. You're finished with your business, you're done with it. So that is the ultimate reason why we read Bhagavad Gita. So this chapter tells us that. Okay, we have a quiz program, I think, today with all these children. One or two questions, if are there, I'll answer. Otherwise, quiz. There's no questions? Okay.
Swami, there are a few questions on the proper technique of meditation. The first, should we focus between the eyebrows or on the heart where the divinity resides? Second, it is easier to meditate on a form that is dear to us. So how can we progress towards meditating upon the formless? Third, there is a tendency for the mind to slip into sleep involuntarily while meditating. How to keep awake during meditation?
So Sri Krishna has recommended that you try to meditate between your brows. That's called the Agnya Chakra. That is the seat of intuition in all of us, which is called also as the third eye. Third eye is not the physical eye, like Shiva has the third eye, Trinetra. The third eye is simply an intuitive ability in us. Once your intuition opens up, as I mentioned, we can act from our instinct, we can act from our intelligence, or we can act from our intuition. But this opening of third eyes is very intuitive. So basically what we are trying to do, when we focus all our energy on the Agnya Chakra, it opens, in the sense it gets cleared. There are blockages of energies go away. At that point of time, it makes us enter into the realm of intuition. And that helps us to be able to understand what we have to do, what we should not do, and by our very nature, we will be able to make decisions correctly. So that is why meditation starts from there, saying that you focus most of your energy over there, so that your mind learns to transcend instincts, transcend intelligence, and merge into intuition. That is why this third eye, or whatever, the brow, middle of the brow is what it is said. But Sri Krishna also said, focus on the tip of your nose. The idea is that we must focus on something. The focusing of the mind is the process of meditation. Some people focus on a light, they light a lamp and they focus on the flame and try to see that flame within themselves in their heart, thinking that is also divinity. Some people simply think of an idea. They don't focus on anything. They just think of an idea, like Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma, and that also becomes a part of meditation. So different people may find different ways comfortable or suitable for them. So that is the idea of meditation. It's not that it is a hard and fast rule that you must do this and you should not do something else. If you go by very rigid rules of Hatha Yoga and all that, then it becomes quite orthodox and rigid. That's not for everyone. For generally what we trying to achieve from meditation is our mind should become very focused. It should not be scattered. It should be very, very vyavasayikatmika buddhi, it is said. Our intelligence and mind should be completely sharp and focused. So meditate on anything, any object, any idea, any thought, it's okay. Any form is also okay, as long as you meditate. And where you want to put your entire focus, it depends on you, but you focus on the Agnya, it opens up your intuitive abilities. You focus on your heart, as they say, it opens your abilities to be extra sensitive to things and people around you. It opens the love part of your heart. You become more loving and kind. Similarly, if you focus on your other parts of your body, the 7 chakras are there, it activates that and it further energizes that. So your abilities related to those chakras get open. Finally, for me, I have always told, when you're meditating, this is my method, and those who want to do it, they can do this way. You sit in a comfortable position. Now, comfortable position does not mean that take a nice recliner, and so then your energy channels get blocked. See, we have a chakra channel which goes on from bottom till the top. You know about that 7 chakras. So if you are not in the right position, then what happens? It's like a water pipe. If it's bent, it will block the flow of water. So your chakra and your energy flows will get blocked. Then your meditation will not be as comfortable eventually. It will be blocked. You feel irritated. You feel suffocated. You feel anxious while meditating. So one, keep your spine straight. That Sri Krishna also said. Keep your spine and your head straight. Then get all your chakras aligned. In the sense, from the Mooladhara till the Brahmarandra or Sahasrara, it all should be in one line. It should not be like this. You bend like this, then naturally your chakras are not. So just a little 15-degree head bend is very good, because Brahmarandra or Vidruti or Sahasrara is at the more or less at the crown of the head, where your hair parts, right, or that circle of the hair that forms. So that is more or less the place where your Sahasrara is, or that energy chakra is there. So you just bend the head a little bit to align your entire thing to that. Then what can you do? You try to concentrate your energies in one place. It is everywhere. So I tell them to slowly, gradually withdraw from the feet, from the arms, from the thighs, from the stomach, from the chest, from everywhere, and try to focus in one place. You cannot focus it here. It's not easy. That's a natural outcome of meditation. Generally, we learn to focus in our Hridaya chakra, Manipurka, or not Manipurka, in our Hridaya, the heart chakra, or we focus in our middle of the eye. These are the two places which is very, very powerful. Those chakras can open quite fast. But largely focus in the middle of the eye, because that opens the intuitive capacity. Once your intuition opens up, as I said, every decision in your life becomes very easy. Everything comes from the intuition. You don't have to worry about thinking, applying a lot of logic to it. It will start giving you more insights into everything. And as I said, you can see the deeper truths in everything because of the opening of the third eye. So generally, that's why it's told you focus over here. That's what is the easiest and the best way of meditating. And keep yourselves comfortable. And don't push, I put an alarm clock, 30 minutes meditation, 40 minutes meditation. See, it doesn't work like that. Try to sit longer and longer every time that you sit. But 5 minutes is also good enough. Quality of meditation is important for us, not quantity of time. You're not competing with somebody to meditate longer. That doesn't make anything better. It's the quality of meditation. So that part is important. And every time your mind deviates from that thought, your energy, your idea, you're focused over here, it goes away and start thinking of the examination or what is happening there, who said what to you. Bring it back. That's what Sri Krishna says. Every time it goes away, try to bring it back to this focus. Keep doing it again and again and again, and one day you will master that. Your mind won't go away. Wherever you want your mind to focus, it will focus there. It will be an obedient servant. Till such time, you have to go on working on this. Then, one more question was there at the end.
How can we progress from meditating on a form?
Form to formless. See, naturally, what happens is that we are all human beings with physical attributes. It's very difficult for us to imagine something which is non-physical. You see, even if we think of love, we don't think of love as a formless emotion. We think of our mother, we think of our father, we think of our brother, sister, friend, teacher, whoever has given us love. So at the moment we think of love as the concept, immediately some person comes into picture, which because of whom or through whom we have experienced this idea of love. Similarly, when we think of divinity, it's very difficult to think of nothingness. It's not possible. So first level is to think of one form of God which is very close to your heart, which makes you feel very happy. So some people like Hanuman, some people like Ganesha, some people like Devi, anybody. So you focus on that form. That helps you to focus, concentrate on that form for long hours, long time. So that is why Nirakara is difficult. Saguna Sakara we begin with there. More discussions will happen in Bhakti Yoga. But idea is that when you have a form which inspires in you devotion, which inspires in you the ability to meditate longer, which inspires you to think of it for long, long time, it helps your mind to remain focused and steady. So that is the idea of why you should meditate on some form to begin with. It is easy. But after some time, you must try to believe that that form is just the representation. Like mother is the representation of the love of a mother. Or sweet, sugar, or what you call a sweet, is a representation of the sweetness. The sweetness is what you enjoy, not the sweet actually. If the sweet has everything and no sugar in it, would you enjoy that sweet? You won't. So what you're doing through the sweet, you're only trying to taste the sweetness and enjoy the sweetness. Likewise, through the form, you're only trying to enjoy and experience the divinity, which is the essence of that form. But it doesn't come very easily in the beginning. In the beginning, you must take to meditating on some form, whichever is closest to your heart. As I said, whichever makes you happy immediately, makes you comfortable, something that you can think forever and never get bored. That form you take and start with that. And once you start with that, slowly, as you keep progressing on this path, it will reveal itself to you. In our scriptures, the idea is called sputa. Means it suddenly reveals itself to you, its nature. Because you have thought about it for a very, very long time. Somehow your mind penetrates into the reality of that form, and you will realize that my Krishna is not the Krishna with the flute in hand standing in Vrindavan. My Krishna is the same consciousness which permeates and pervades everything. This realization will come to you if you have enough Shraddha and you're doing it for a very, very long time. So to begin with, the form is easy. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, if there's a thorn stuck in your flesh, you want to remove that thorn, you need another thorn to remove this thorn. And you remove this thorn and you throw away both the thorns, right? So one form is important, like Sakara meditation is important, but that is the thorn in the flesh. Nirakara meditation is another thorn. You take that Nirakara and you eventually remove Sakara also and get rid of both, because you become that. You don't need to meditate on anything. You are always immersed in that divinity. Till such time, start with Sakara is the easiest way. Whatever helps you to stay steady, to focus on it for a long time, you don't get bored, because some people tell me also, and I feel very flattered. They say, we are never bored looking at you. We are always wanting to look at you at all the time. I said, yes, you can, but I can't sit in front of you all the time. I have plenty of things to do. So, but some people, because you love that form so much. When you are in love and you love someone or something also, like all the time you're thinking of it effortlessly. There's no effort required. You think of this. No. What you don't love is very big effort to think of it. That's why for Radha, Krishna, it was so easy to think of Krishna at all times. And finally Radha, though started with the form, ultimately she realizes that Krishna is the formless Brahman. So Radha is a jnani at the end. She started with a normal bhakta, but eventually she became a jnani. And when Krishna was leaving on the night of his departure, the eve of his departure, he goes to Radha and says, Radha, everybody came to see me and to send me out, but you did not come. So I came looking for you. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I may never come back again. And Radha says, which Krishna are you talking about? This Krishna, this form, which is leaving tomorrow? Or that Krishna which is there everywhere, in every leaf, in every flower, in every grain of sand of this Yamuna river, every drop of water, you alone are. How can you leave me ever? And that's how she redeems herself. So starting from Sakara Bhakti, where she would be jealous if he paid attention to other Gopikas. And for her sake, he will multiply himself so that no Gopika, tears each other's hair after the... So he did that for that sake of Radha only, because Radha would get jealous. But eventually, she went up in her spiritual ladder and realized that Krishna is the same one everywhere. And then she had no regrets. She was never afraid of anything. She was not afraid of losing Sri Krishna. So when you love somebody, you can think of them all the time. And I've seen what you call, jokingly they call lovebirds. You see, they're never bored of each other. They find everything beautiful at each other. The others wonder, what is that they're so fond of? But they're so fond of each other. They talk, give them phone, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours they can talk continuously without any tiredness. There's no effort. I've seen 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock also people are awake talking to each other. Then marriage happens. Then you have to avoid all the phone calls. Where are you? I'm very busy, I'm doing this, doing nothing. So when you are in love, pure love, with anyone, you are able to meditate on them for a long, long time. And that meditation does not even require you to sit in one place. Walking, talking, moving, your mind is always on that. Again, Ramakrishna says, like, if you have a toothache, whatever you're doing, your mind is focused on your toothache. Or when you are newly married, he says, how a newly married man's mind is always on the bride at home and not interested in the shop and the affairs of the day. Likewise, your thoughts will go back to the divine or to whomever you love, because it's natural, it's effortless for you then. So your meditation happens at all times, in all places. Sarvatra Sarvakaleshu, whatever Krishna is saying, that happens when you love that form very, very much. But at the same time, as you love more and purely, not for selfish sake, but purely if you love that form, slowly the wisdom, the jnana will come, because ekagrartham upasana, once your mind becomes steady, and all that you do is for the sake of that love of that Lord, your karma becomes purifying, karmani chitta shuddhartam. So chitta shuddhi will happen, and ekagrata will happen, wisdom will dawn sooner or later. So that is the idea of meditation. To begin with, sit in a place, whatever in a comfortable position, try to bring your mind back to one thought, one form, one name. But let me tell you, you people are very lucky. You don't have to find an object for meditation. You don't have to find a place or a time for meditation. You can always love, and in that love, your meditation will happen. And when that meditation happens for long enough, you become one with that, feeling of that. How Bharata became one with Sri Rama. He started looking like Sri Rama, so much so that when Hanuman was flying back and he saw Bharata, Bharata thought that somebody is trying to attack Rama, and he shot an arrow and Hanuman came down. And then he told, you look like exactly like Sri Rama. Hanuman was shocked. He couldn't tell between Bharata and tell the difference between Rama and Bharata. In fact, when they say when Rama and Bharata came back, after Rama went to, all that war happened and he was returning to Ayodhya after 14 years. For all 14 years, Bharata did not live in Ayodhya. He made a small hut and lived in the same difficult conditions in the forest as Rama would be living. And when after 14 years, when they both were returning, they both looked alike, it seems. So much so that when people wanted to garland them, they did not know who is Rama and who is Bharata and whom to garland. They were looking so similar, that is the story. Why? Because continuously Bharata has thought about Sri Rama for 14 years without thinking of anything else, because he loves Rama so much. So he becomes Rama. Physically also he became very similar to Rama, and spiritually also he became one with him. So that is the idea of meditation, and when you love the divinity, whichever form, it helps you to meditate better for longer, and that helps you to finally find the truth behind the divinity as same Akshara Brahma, not the Kshara Brahma. The Akshara, the imperishable divinity, is what every divinity, every divine form represents. You will realize that, and after that, you are not lost to him and he is not lost to you. That is what Krishna says. I am not Sachamena Pranashati. That person is not lost to me. I am also not lost to the person, because we become one with each other. So that bhakti of Radha, that ultimately she became one with Krishna, that kind of bhakti and meditation is what is required to realize the truth. Okay, for now, we have the quiz. That is a way to find out how much has gone inside you, or is just one-way traffic. Okay.
Now, we shall have a short break of 5 minutes for the purpose of stage arrangement. We request everyone to kindly remain seated.